What's wrong with the Royals? That's what we're here to talk about. I'm Sam, you're Vahe. Let's get to it. What do you think is wrong with the Royals? What in the heck is wrong with this 500 team?
Look, here's where I am on this. I think there's some worrisome things we're seeing. I think one of the things that's on our minds is how they're losing, not just that they're losing, but I still think it's the function, on balance, it's the function of a long season. We don't really know what this is going to mean in that context. I see no reason to be in that panic mode.
Yeah.
But I also see reasons they need to be tweaking some things.
Sure. Yeah. I keep going back to a couple things. One is that the 2015 Royals, and that season ended up pretty good, they were remarkably consistent. They were incredibly consistent. And they had a stretch of 9 of 11 losses at the end of May, beginning of June. Coincidentally, maybe, which included some games at Yankee Stadium where they were terrible. They scored 2 or fewer runs in all 9 of those losses.
That was when the Guthrie game was in there?
Yeah, Chris Young got lit up, I think, in New York, I think,
Yep,
actually.
it was.
And that was one of the most consistent teams that we've seen in the last 5 or 10 years in Major League Baseball. And so teams have stretches where they're not very good.
And they have them later, too. I mean, they have them much later in the season and go on to be okay, like the Royals did last year, too.
Yeah, and they had another one in September, although that one came with a little bit more logical
more reasons,
explanations. But the other thing is they've been playing bad. I think we can all agree on that. I mean, we can pick out Eric Hosmer, Wade Davis, Kelvin Herrera, maybe a few others that have been playing good. For the most part, they've been playing pretty bad. And as of when we're talking right now, they're 15-15. And there's a lot of teams out there that would love to, including playoff teams, that would love to win as many as they lose while playing really terribly. The other thing is, I agree with you that there are some things they don't have the same, and I don't know if I'm semantics here. I'm not talking about effort, but energy. They don't have the same, sort of energy that they did last year, which is understandable. I think what they did last year, I couldn't believe that they held on to that the whole season. So that's something. I do think they're being pitched a little bit differently. I think some of their guys are pressing a little bit, but I don't know how unique this is to crap. This is the whole season versus this is a 1.5, 2 weeks. I don't know how long the stretch, whatever we count it as, but how much of this is the 2016 Royals and how much of it is just a slump?
And look, I think that's the question everybody's probably got most on their minds. If you're being rational, you're thinking, well, I don't know. You're not saying it's over. Let's start trading away for parts and figuring this out. I mean, it is the core of a World Series title team. It's a year older, really not in that danger zone on a lot of these guys of being a year into fading. But you do wonder about some guys if they're able to continue to pick up on their career best years or sorts of years like that. They're just not going to be able to have that. And the thing that this really makes me think about the most is it's easy to forget they were magic last year, right? In so many ways, they had very tangible things going for them, but they had a lot of things fall their way. I mean, for each of those unbelievable postseason comebacks, there was an unbelievable postseason collapse by the other team. And it's, in my mind, just to be remembered that you can be X amount of good and you don't know what that's going to mean. Right now, we don't even know the X amount of good they are. I guess that's the troubling thing. And the thing that it's on my mind right now the most is probably the starting rotation. I don't get what's going on there with, especially Ventura's the X factor.
Yeah, Ventura's had 11 walks, I think, over 8 innings in his last 2 starts. Nobody in the American League has walked more batters than Yordano Ventura, and I don't know. It's hard to tell. Something's not right. Something clearly is not right, and it's hard to tell. Is he trying to pitch differently? Is he trying to let up a little bit to throw more strikes? If that's what it is, not working at all. I wonder if he's hurt. I wonder if we're going to find out in the next week or month or something like that he's got something going on and they're going to give him, a 15-day DL or a few starts off. And also, I do think that there's something to the idea of like each season is like very different. As much as we want to think that this is just the continuation of 2015, it doesn't work like that. That 2015 team was very different, even though same core guys. Collectively as a group, they had a different personality, a different identity than the 2014 team. And 2016 is going to have, a similar sort of evolution. And, to expect, again, that sort of angry, beautiful rage that they played with from opening day until Game 5 of the World Series in New York, to expect that 2 years in a row, I think is just unrealistic. So they kind of need to find their groove a little bit.
I think that's right, and I think that speaks to something really important, and it goes back to your point about energy versus effort, right?
Yeah.
That team was on fire emotionally from the start of the season in ways that I don't even think we saw coming. Even you sort of thought, well, they got the World Series the year before. I guess they hope they do better this year and win, but they were just burning for that. And I think there's a human limit to that, right? And also, is the incentive, the motivation, exactly that same kind of burn?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're not doing their darndest, but there's a different kind of just intensity level maybe they would probably find hard to sustain year in and year out, and certainly for the course of 162 games.
Yeah. Well, one last point that I'll make is on Lorenzo Cain. I feel like, he's been scuffling. There's certain signs in the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 days of him starting to come out of it, but he's been scuffling a little bit. He had the play, it was just yesterday on Sunday. He scorched that ball and got thrown out by Brantley at second base. And he got thrown out. He was running hard out of the box, hard from first to second. It wasn't any kind of effort thing. He got thrown out because he hit the ball too damn hard, and Brantley just had a lot of time to make a good play, and Brantley's a good player. But a lot of people will remember that Cain kind of got up and was laughing and pointed to Brantley and, you got me. And I think some people were wondering if that was, is that a sign that the intensity is gone and that kind of thing. And to me, I kind of take that as the opposite. Like, he was frustrated. To that point, he did not have a double. He did not have an extra, he did not have a double. And some of that game-winning hit that he had would have been a double, but,
Right.
And he got a double later in that game, actually. But to that point, I think he was frustrated that he didn't have a double, and that's how he shows his frustration. That's Lorenzo Cain. That's his personality. Personally, I'd be more worried, panicked, whatever the word, if he came up, slammed his helmet, started cussing, and threw a big fit, because that's not Lorenzo Cain. Lorenzo Cain is that guy that got up laughing and, shucks, and then hit a double later in the game. So I think you can see certain little parts like that they're not losing who they are.
Yeah, totally agree with you on that, and that speaks to another whole other interesting dynamic of this, which is each little part dominoes into the next sometimes, whether it's emotionally or even specifically in terms of what happens in the game, and this is really true. And I don't want to just buy into Ned speak, but they do have this, and they've had it for a few years now. This trend where 5 guys go cold at a time.
Yeah,
I mean it's uncanny.
It really is.
So we have seen that before, and you thus think you're going to see it shift around. And look, if you get 2, 3 other guys going a little bit, I mean, I think a guy I'm a bit concerned about, though. I am a bit concerned about Alex Gordon. I don't know if that's
striking out a lot
legitimate, but after all the off-season emotion of getting him back, and I'm sure he's a guy inclined to press, and that it's hard to go that deep in anybody's mind on how that goes. But that's been the same with a few of these guys. I think there are those. I've heard people say stuff about complacency. I think that's preposterous. I think it's far more likely that people are squeezing the sawdust out of the bat at times when they just can't quite get the feel.
Yeah. You say Alex Gordon, Morales is the guy for me
that
I'm kind of worried about. But anyway, they might lose 90 games. They might win the World Series. Nobody knows. But the point is, I think on May 9th, it's a little bit too early to know either way for sure. So anyway,
absolutely.
Did we solve the problems?
I think we as eloquently as possible for the two of us solve the problems.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Vahe, Sam, adios.